Catherine Waller and I'm MD for Dacxi in the UK and Ireland. So a massive welcome to today. This is our second Women Who Crypto event. We've had loads of attendees sign up, which is great. I know loads of people listen again. And we're very proud to be what we believe is the largest community online of women who crypto. So something brings me huge pleasure. I think when we first started doing it a couple of months ago, we thought it was a massive gap. So yeah, welcome and great to be part of something we hope is big and ever growing. And I'm also interested to see on the attendee list there's some boys that have tried to sneak in, so welcome to you. We don't mind you being here. Welcome. So look, we've got a huge number of attendees and speakers from different countries, backgrounds, ages, people that work professionally in crypto to those that have it as a side passion. And actually we've done quite a lot of homework for what we feel is the gap we're trying to fill. So out of our previous event, we actually polled our attendees, and we'll do a little bit of that today. And the majority of ladies that listened to us last time either hadn't as yet bought crypto or had only been a year in. So about 69% of the people we spoke to last time were very early on in their crypto career. And they told us that the prime thing limiting their crypto career was lack of knowledge. So about 43% of our attendees last time said, look, I'd love to be in crypto, I just need some more information. And interestingly, particularly about the women that were looking for financial freedom and that long-term wealth, 97% of them were considering crypto to achieve that. So a massive audience of people that think crypto is important to their financial well-being. Actually, in the UK recently, our regulator, which is the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, is only really just starting to take crypto seriously. They're only really recently talking about it and really acknowledging that it's out there. And last month they published a paper about crypto broadly, and they said that 3.86% of the UK population currently own cryptocurrencies. So that's tiny. 3.8% of our population is not a massive number, but it's double the previous year. So that adoption is really growing. So it's about 1.9 million adults in the UK, population over 18, are currently involved in crypto, and we know that those numbers are growing. They also said, interestingly, that 79% of the Brits that own crypto are male, 79%. So I'm on a personal mission to change that, which is why Women in Crypto was born. So a bit about the format for today, a bit of housekeeping. It's very informal. We've got lots of attendees from APAC, and I know that some of you have got wine, so I'm a little bit jealous because it's only 10 o'clock for me, but I will be joining you a little bit later today. It's very much conversational. We don't have any complicated graphs. We don't have any economic theory. We don't have anything to sell you. I just want to have a bit of a chat to each of my speakers. And also we want to make it very interactive. So for those of you that might be new to Zoom, if you look at the bottom, there's a little chat button. So if you look at that, we just want to be interactive. Please talk to us. Particularly if you hear something that resonates with you personally or you can relate to, please feel free to comment. And actually, if you can just say hi now and where you're listening in from, it just means that we know it's working, and that would be super helpful. So I've got some great guests. I'm really so thrilled they can join us. They're all real women that are involved in crypto, and bar two professional speakers, they're just normal people that have got involved and done well with crypto, and are happy to share their experiences, whether it's the good, the bad, the ugly, what worked and what didn't work. So I'm going to be asking them a few questions just to keep the conversation going. But equally, if you want to ask questions whilst they're talking, feel free to put it in the chat. I've got someone monitoring the chat, or you can private message me. You don't have to. Feeling a little bit shy, obviously I won't say who the question is from. And we're also going to be polling again. It just really helps us tailor the content for being useful and exactly the right thing. So there's a couple of poll questions that we'll be asking. I will be ably assisted by Sam, who has stayed up late in New Zealand to help me today. They're mostly they're anonymous, so you can just put your answer, a couple of multiple choice. So I'll just guide you through that as we do it. So a bit of background on today's session. Excuse me, wrong slide. Oh, that's weird, not sure what's happening there. So look, some great content today. I've been asked to do the introduction. So I've introduced myself already. My name is Catherine. So my background is that I'm supposed to come up and give you all the sort of starting point for the data. So I have to give you a disclaimer, which is that the presentation and the content today is not investment advice, trading advice, or financial advice, but hopefully it is education and inspiration for your crypto journey. So my background personally is working for Dacxi in the UK and Ireland. And Dacxi is actually my third blockchain and crypto industry role. So prior to working for Dacxi, I was a board advisor for a tokenization business. And as I left, we were actually listing tokenized properties for Sotheby's, which is a very big posh auction house and property place. That business is now valued at 15.4 million sterling. I'm still on the board for a health tech business which uses blockchain, which was recently valued at 5 million. I've had a long career in fintech and disruptive technologies. Prior to that, I worked for investment banks and hedge funds in capital markets technology. And look, the world's largest asset managers and hedge funds were using it, whether it was UBS or Citi or BNY Mellon, which was interesting. And as I left there, which is now, oh gosh, 6 months ago, and I spent a couple of years there, I could see there was a lot broken with the infrastructure, and the future was ripe for change and disruption that would benefit the end users, which is just normal everyday people. I've also worked in peer-to-peer lending, which at the time was Europe's largest lender in its category, as well as a bond issuer. And I'm personally regularly quoted in the press, both trade or mainstream, whether it's fintech or crypto or blockchain. So hopefully I'm well placed to guide a female community on how blockchain and cryptocurrencies can improve your life. So the title of today's session is How Crypto is Financially Empowering Women in the New Normal. And I just wanted to kind of frame some of the discussions that we're going to have today. And I think we're in some very strange and frightening times. And I just want to take a look at where we are right now and how crypto is stepping up to fix some of our current problems and where I think the market is going. And we put a lot out in the press. You'll see a lot about what we think as a business about where crypto is going. So it is a fact that cryptocurrency is only needed if the normal currencies, the normal local currencies, whether it's British pounds or dollars, be they American or Australian or New Zealand, are not effective. Crypto is not needed unless something is broken. So crypto is a method of storing value, and it provides a quicker, faster, cheaper way of moving value and wealth. And of course, we've got some really massive problems globally as a result of coronavirus. We were just talking a little bit as everyone logged on about how that's different in New Zealand and the UK and in Australia. So it's estimated that about $9 trillion were wiped off stock markets globally. In the UK, the FTSE 100, which is our top 100 traded companies, our stock market is down about 18% year to date. Our GDP, in common with many other developing nations, has taken its biggest hit since World War II, excuse me. And we don't really know how bad the unemployment is going to be, because right now the government has bailed out and we've got this furlough scheme. So rather than everyone being made redundant, the government has stepped in and picked up about 80% of that bill. So we estimate that probably about 10% of our working population will be out of work. And daily we're hearing about some of our biggest and most famous companies shedding headcount, whether it's Airbus, TM Lewin, Upper Crust, John Lewis, Pret a Manger. They're all in the press saying, look, we're getting rid of people. And globally, obviously money is being printed with wanton abandon in all the developed nations, and it's likely that's not going to fix the problem. It also means consequently that our stock market is overheated, which of course is the basis of all the traditional vanilla financial products, and interest rates are at all-time low, which is dreadful news for savers, which particularly often affected our retired community. And there's even talk both in the UK and in many other countries about negative interest rates. So particularly for my generation, we've never had negative interest rates. And people very simply need to earn money and get yield. And you'll hear a bit more on SAIRA today about that theme of diversification and income. So let us be really clear here. In any downturn, the people at the bottom of the pile are the worst affected, whether it's BAME communities or women. And Vicky, one of our speakers who'll be on next, is going to talk a lot more about empowering women in financial self-protection. So right now, we don't really know what's going to happen. I'm not going to sit here and try and make some substantial guesses for the future. There's nothing in recent past that we can compare our current situation to. And I don't think we can use the word unprecedented any more than we currently do and see in the press every day. So unsurprisingly, there's this huge feeling of distrust around our current financial systems. And it's very telling that crypto has had a phenomenal few months and frankly, a phenomenal year. So adoption is skyrocketing. And at Dacxi, we actually sat around in early March just as we felt that coronavirus is kind of really taking a hit. And we actually put out a webinar series that said why coronavirus is going to be great for crypto. And I'm pleased to report we were right. So year to date, so that's 6 months of the year, Bitcoin's up about 28%, Ethereum's up about 90%. And the facts don't lie. Reputable crypto coins, the blue chips, which is crypto, specifically in Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, which is what we concentrate on as a business, those coins have recovered harder, faster, and better than the traditional financial assets. And what you can see, which is very interesting, is that the biggest financial companies in the world are now coming out to support crypto and blockchain technologies. And some of those are the largest financial infrastructure businesses, whether they're BlackRock, JP Morgan, DTCC. And on top of that, you'll see asset managers and hedge funds finally taking crypto and particularly Bitcoin seriously. And a good example of that is Paul Tudor Jones, who's a very famous hedge funder, said that Bitcoin is a great hedge against inflation, potentially, and essentially it's outside the current system. So it's a good place to be when the poop hits the fan. It's not quite what he said about fans, but you understand what I mean. So it's a fact that the world, the retail audience and the infrastructure business is looking for its next ecosystem. And for fans of crypto, people like me and the other speakers on this call today, it's about being a bit more democratic about wealth. And there's already a huge industry of alternative finance, whether it's crowd lending, crowdfunding, which provides access to those opportunities that are not available through traditional channels. And Lorraine, who's one of our speakers today, is a real expert on that. And we'll be giving you a bit more information. So Dacxi is a completely unique business. Today, we're a fintech platform and we help people grow their wealth through crypto. We're the only exchange that has a huge amount of education, which is always free. And also we typically work with people that are looking to hold rather than trade their crypto. So we're also in the process of providing crowd opportunities in the next 12 months. So our community coin, which is called the DAC, very shortly we'll be providing opportunities on a venture basis. And that platform will be licensed in 100 countries, providing opportunities from around the world. So that mixture of crowd, community, and crypto is a very potent combination. And we know that that market is worth tens of billions of dollars annually. So the speakers we'll be talking today that we've chosen are well placed to talk about the future of money. And you may wish to educate yourself on that topic to safeguard your own financial health. And we put out huge amounts of research and content around those themes, always free and easily accessible. And today's speakers are all individuals who have made strong profits in crypto and have got great stories to tell. So just to focus the mind, Sam, could I ask you for our first poll, please? So our first poll question is, what is your prime reason for seeking financial freedom? So like I say, the answers that we get are anonymous and you can choose more than one. So if a couple of those speak to you, please feel free to choose more than one. So I'll just let that poll run for a second. And look, it's really important that we get this information from you guys so we can put out content which is meaningful. So thank you. I think you've all found the button, which is great. So I'll just let that run for a couple of seconds. Thank you to Sam, who stayed up extra super late to help us. Poor Sam is quite new to our business, so she's been very instrumental. Sam and Lisa for putting together today. So thank you to you guys. So great. I think we can probably close that one now, actually, Sam, that's fine. So look, quite an even split, which is interesting, with a bit of a clear winner for lifestyle. So that's great. Wonderful. Okay, thanks, Sam. That one can probably get closed now. Thanks, lovely. So great. If I can just get Vicky to line herself up and unmute yourself and what have you. So look, that's quite enough from me. I just wanted to frame our discussion. So please make yourself comfortable and welcome our first speaker, Vicky. So Vicky is going to talk, how do I get rid of that? Oh, there we are. So Vicky is going to talk about how leveraging the power of collaboration can lead us all to a better future. Vicky is actually one of the co-founders of Dacxi, and she's also a published best-selling author on self-esteem and self-empowerment. She's a true entrepreneur across numerous sectors, so no surprise in she's been very instrumental in the Women Who Crypto group. And yeah, I'm just keen to talk to her about the power of networking and community in wealth creation. So Vicky, hi, hopefully you're unmuted.
Hi.
Yep. Yay,
yep.
it works, yay.
Yeah.
Yes, very good. So look, I know I've done a bit of intro. Just start by telling us a little bit about yourself. That would be great.
I obviously with Catherine, one of the main protagonists behind Women in Crypto, which is a passion of mine, Women Who Crypto. I also am one of the originals from the Dacxi exchange. I have a very limited and non-executive role within the company now, but literally over the last 4 or 5 years, I have been involved in crypto to some varying degree or other. I moved to New Zealand about 20 years ago. I have got 4 children, 2 at university, one is and I've got a daughter who's a marketing strategist in an advertising agency up in Auckland. And then I have a 17-year-old baby who's still at home. Over the last 20 years, as Catherine said, I've had a couple of businesses, one in publishing, one in advertising, and one in cosmetics. So quite different. But my really big passion has been around women's self-development and published author. And that's been a very big sort of passion of mine for the last, God knows how many decades. So that's me.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So look, I know you talked a lot about how passionate you are about the female community. We talk to women every day that have, really had it pretty tough, and that's inspired them to take some steps. And obviously, we're primarily an education business, and they often embrace what we're doing. How, as women, did we become so financially disempowered from the current financial system?
Whereas people are always thinking, in their later years, it's their twilight years, retirement, great, fantastic. In fact, actually, it's a really awful time. It's a destabilizing time. A lot of us find ourselves on our own at that time. Divorce rates are at an all-time high. We've got, early spousal death. Often we find ourselves on our own, and up shit creek, literally without a paddle, financially. And there was a wonderful story on the last panel, which Susan, I don't know whether Susan's here, Susan Cook, this amazing woman who, and I'm sure she won't mind me sharing this, but she was saying that her husband very sadly passed away about 2 or 3 years ago. And while she was dealing with the grief of that, she suddenly found that when she was going through all the finances afterwards, that in fact he was being blackmailed right up until just prior to his death. And in fact, there was no money left in the family pot. And that is a problem that I see every day, with women in that thing. So it's very important that we do sort of become financially invested. And that kind of wealth, if we'd been on the ball, then would have come extremely handy. Now, the other problem with why women are so financially disempowered is it's a structural problem, and it's to do with the way that we are communicated to with the information that's out there on finance, let alone crypto. So it's about how do we create crypto content for women, and how do we collaborate on a mass scale to get that content distributed, and break the thing down so that basically it's a much more inclusive financial system where women are not operating on the outside of the bubble. There are loads of resources out there on crypto or finance, but honestly, how many of us go on to sort of like Investopedia and go, what are the top 10 crypto resources? Well, we just don't. And it's not appealing information that's consumable or interesting to us. So how do we change that structure? And if we change it, then we can change a lot of things. So the big thing is that it's really important, I'm really passionate about this, that we get information out there as quickly as we possibly can to women around the world about crypto. And the reason being is that we're sort of right at the beginning of the life cycle of crypto, really still, in general terms, but it's moving very quickly every single day. And if we don't get people vested in crypto, we will have they will, and we all know that early adopters get the lion's share of the wealth, but basically there is also another issue where we will also not have a chance to make our mark on this new finance. And that's not good for anybody. So it's very important that we get people involved as quickly as possible, and also share in that moment that is now in grabbing, some of the wealth from this new technology called cryptocurrency. And I say moment because this will sort of all be gone within 3 years or so, literally. So now is the time to sort of get involved with it.
Very good. That's amazing. Thanks. And look, for those of you that perhaps are new to Dacxi, we put out a lot of content on social media, whether it's Facebook or our website. So we're an information business, and the reason for Women Who Crypto is community. And nothing would make myself and Vicky and the other speakers happier than if that information just went viral and, you shared it with, your girlfriends and your mummy friends and, female family members and what have you. So look, Vicky, you're talking a lot about what you can see happening in the next couple of years. And obviously it's a very important time for crypto right now. But what do you think the new normal is going to look like for women and crypto?
I think it's slightly hard to say at the moment because I think we're still going through this pandemic. I mean, it just doesn't seem to go away at the moment. And we've also got, these rather disturbing reports that are coming out of China as well, that there is another virus out there, transmissible, which is even worse than COVID. Mongolia has got the bubonic plague raging over there at the moment. So there's lots going on. And so it really, really translates to quite an uncertain future. COVID, of course, has been the biggest health disruptor and economy disruptor the world has ever seen, at speeds that people have never seen before. The COVID pandemic has also, obviously, as you said before, Catherine, has affected women very disproportionately. And COVID has basically given us this lens where we can look through and we can see that women have got financial vulnerabilities, and that is always magnified during time of crisis. 70% of women are on the front line as essential workers. So doctors, nurses, ancillary staff, people who cook in hospitals, all that sort of thing, and social workers, 70%. So they are at a very much heightened level of exposure and risk. And then you've got the care economy, where basically you've got people who have jobs who are now going into unpaid work at home, having to look after their children during lockdown period. I know you have, Catherine. My twin sister who lives in Wiltshire, she has her own business, but she's a single mum, and she's had 2 kids home from sort of O-level stage home at home since March, and it looks like they're not going to go back till September at least. Obviously her business completely tanked during COVID, and during that time when she should have probably spent time trying to sort of desperately build it up and look for new marketing strategies to get some more income in, she's obviously had to devote to looking after her kids and their educational requirements. So on top of that, we're always the ones that basically have to look after older relatives who may get ill with COVID. So, the workload increases. The economic pandemic, the economic impact on women through this pandemic is really one of the mounting issues in the recovery. And I think, in the new normal, women are feeling more vulnerable about money than ever.
Sure. Yeah.
But what I will say is this, that this whole COVID thing has basically produced this important inflection point in this whole thing, insofar as that I really believe, and I'll tell you why in a minute, women are really now focusing firmly on building wealth. And the reason for that is in the last 3 months, we have seen a phenomenal spike in the amount of women that are opening up accounts. I'm not just talking on the Dacxi exchange, I'm talking globally, worldwide. The statistics that are coming out about women who have basically started investing in crypto literally in the last 3 months, can be, obviously during COVID. And the reason for that is they're looking for a buffer, basically, against future crisis. And there may be many people who are just setting up accounts to explore crypto, but generally speaking, a lot of the people that I've talked to have been, obviously quite rattled and, feel a little bit unstable. So cryptocurrency is one of many avenues of investment, but obviously it's done extremely well this year. It's one of the leading asset classes and has outperformed basically gold, silver and platinum. So it's obviously worth looking at. So I think from that point of view, the new normal will be that we will be focusing more on really looking at how we can build our wealth as women. And yeah.
Very good. Thanks for that. Yeah. And then it's such an open question, isn't it? What will the world look like? So how do you think groups like this one can impact financial empowerment for women? So communities like this one, how can we kind of help in that?
I think basically the whole point of communities and the whole thing of setting up a group like this is that there's power in the pack. So a woman on her own is very powerful, but a collective of women has real impact. And cryptocurrency is such a phenomenal development in the world of finance, probably since the invention of money itself, for a myriad of reasons. Unbanked remittances, cheaper way of transferring money over borders, and all of the stuff that around tokenization of businesses and basically exposing people that may not have had opportunities to invest in high-tech companies before leveraging them into those opportunities. So fantastic for many reasons, even though we've had a massive spike around the world. I think in the last 3 months, it was something like, 200% increase of women in Greece, for example, started investing in Bitcoin and what have you, which, huge numbers. But the whole thing is that we're still quite a small piece of the pie. And so we need to get leveraged into that crypto industry as quickly as possible. And women who crypto, our ambitions, Catherine, and motivations behind it is obviously to advance women's economic empowerment through crypto. And I feel that we can do that by starting conversations like we're having now. So, obviously the panel that we had last time was brilliant, loads of amazing women talking about their own sort of personal journeys into crypto. And, for women, as you said, we're not pushing anything. This is not a product. This is just a platform. I like to call it a lounge. We're welcoming ladies in with big, wide open arms, sharing stories without all the nano technical jargon, educating them with basic information, but accurate information, away from all the noise, raising each other up and basically channeling the power of collaboration while trying to have a bit of fun along the way. So,
very good.
We want people to look at this and we want to go, I want to join your squad because you look like me, you sound like me, and I understand what you're talking about and you look quite fun. 4 years ago, and I don't mean any disrespect to any of the men that might be on the call today, but it was 100% male industry. And it was quite a different scene. It's quite a different scene today as well. But I was going up to all these blockchain conferences across Asia, and I would walk into a room of 2,000 people. I would be the only woman there. And it was an extremely intimidating environment, loud, leery, you know, I mean, I felt like I was with all 2,000 aliens. It was just talking in this language that I didn't understand. I spent most of my time, I think, sitting in lectures on my phone, looking at sort of cat memes from Instagram, just feeling completely out of it. And in fact, the icing on the cake was when one guy came up to me and said, what are you doing here? Are you an escort?
Wow, what a compliment.
Oh my God, it was brilliant. Honestly, I was so pleased. I was like, oh my God, must look good today. So it was you know, obviously I just sort of scraped myself off the score of laughing. But, you know, I can remember telling my husband at the time, saying, God, I hate this. If this is cryptocurrency, I absolutely bloody hate it, because this tribe is not my vibe. You know, it's just too intimidating. And I can't see how I can sort of fit in here. Fortunately, I had the foresight to sort of stick with it, because I could see the potential of cryptocurrency. But it was really, really intimidating. So basically, it doesn't matter how it started. That's not our fault, and it doesn't actually matter. What matters is that we take responsibility for basically leveraging women into crypto as fast as we can, through really great information, but also developing a narrative about crypto that is inclusive to women.
Very good, thank you. And look, just one small question. I'm conscious of time limits. So just quickly, what conversations should we be having about crypto with women today, just in summary?
Okay, well, certainly not the conversations that are being had in the crypto and financial media at the moment, which are basically designed for the protected people. They're very boring, they're very elitist, full of acronyms, and you know, much of the stuff is written by people who are saying, oh God, look at me, aren't I very smart? So, totally unrelatable to.
Sure.
So, as I said, we learn from and increase our confidence from around listening to and consuming stories from others who've been there, done it, got the t-shirt. And as you said, let's hear, you know, the good, the bad and the ugly. You know, we're all very good at sort of wearing the ugly badges on our sleeves as women. And, you know, we want to know the upside and the downside. And we want people to tell us how they did it. And what are the relevant lessons that we need to learn here. So we're lucky because, for instance, this panel that we have here, we've got amazing, amazing ladies that are sharing their stories. So you get exposed into this space in a very non-threatening way from a source that understands your circumstances, and you feel connected and comfortable with that. And once you become inspired and edified by these people, you then start to actually cross a divide from education to learning, and that is what you need to get people clued up and to start their journey on financial empowerment. And if you make it fun along the way, then
even better.
This could become your newest favorite social channel, basically. So
very good.
Yeah. So join Women Who Crypto.
Amazing. On that note, thank you so much, Vicky. That was all amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. So I just want to move on to our next poll, if that's okay. If you could load that for me, please, Sam, that'd be amazing. So this question is, what asset classes are you currently involved in? Again, multiple choice, so you can choose more than one. If there's more than one of these that you're currently working on, which is great. So right now today, what asset classes are you currently involved in? Equities, sort of shares, international equities, property, bonds, or crypto assets. So if you could put some votes in, that would be amazing. Is that one open, Sam? We don't seem to be getting people registering. someone try to put an answer in? I don't think I can answer because I am a
Yeah,
host.
it's not allowing me to click on it.
Oh,
Oh, no,
okay.
maybe it is. Wait a minute.
No, it won't respond to a click.
Oh no, it's
do you
responding now.
Ah, very good. I'm not sure who mended it, but well done, Sam. That's the challenge. This is not our technology, clearly, but
So sorry, Kat. When you say property, you mean in your own property or investment?
Any property, any money you've spent on property would be interesting to know.
Even if it's your own, yeah.
Even if it's your own, yeah. That's great. Thanks, Brenda. Great. So it just means we have a bit of a sense of what's going on. So apologies for that technology blip. That's not our technology. I'm pleased to report. But as a tech firm, it's always embarrassing if it has a bit of a hiccup. So well done, Sam, for talking firmly to it. So just while that is trickling in, if I could get Lorraine to just unmute herself, that would be great. So look, interesting. Obviously, we'd expect crypto assets to be a winner because we're sitting on a crypto conversation piece. But interestingly, not a huge gap between the crypto assets, property and equities, which is really interesting. So thanks very much, guys, for that data. That is interesting for us and informs future content. So that's great. Thanks all. So, right, I'd like to introduce Lorraine next. So Lorraine is going to be talking about, obviously we're in, oh, excuse me. Go back, why can't I not get rid of that? So Lorraine will kindly be talking to us today about the regeneration, massive sense at the moment about the world's going to need a lot of fixing post-COVID, and funding businesses is absolutely key. It's the lifeblood of any economy. And obviously you want to make sure that people that are assisting in that make money. So there's already a massive industry of innovation finance. And we just want to talk a little bit about taking advantage of that, both as a borrower and as a lender. So Lorraine's background is very interesting. She's had a very corporate career. She's worked for some of the biggest companies here in the UK, whether it's Marks and Spencer's or Standard Life for 14 years. More recently, I know she's worked for herself since 2015, and she's very focused on the innovation space. We really appreciate her expertise today. Her company is involved in everything that is innovation, from the non-refundable government-supported tax and grants initiatives to the funding of companies and their promotion across various networks. So I've just asked her to talk today about how she sees the world panning out post-COVID, and how we can all take advantage of that for long-term wealth. Are you on, Lorraine? I'm sorry, I can't see you on my current view. Oh, there you are. Yeah.
Yes.
Hi. Have you got a video share? Oh, there you are. Great.
Yeah, I'm there. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us. So look, tell us a bit about your background, and tell, for those that don't know a lot about it, tell us a bit about the innovation space would be great, please.
Okay, as you said, I've worked in Marks and Spencer's. I was a commercial manager there from school, and then had a complete change, went to Standard Life and developed products for them. So I got a real taste of finance at that point, which I really enjoyed. Then I became a single mum and couldn't do all the running around that corporate wants you to do. So had a look at what was out there in the world. My kids were young, and I thought I'll open up a play centre and a restaurant, which is what I did, and tried to make it healthier, more accessible to everyone. And it was great fun. The kids and I had 10 years of fun. And then when they were old enough, I decided I would get back to finance again, and fell into the innovation space, which I absolutely love. So each day is different, and just now it's all about COVID, as you can imagine. So I'm working with companies who are at the forefront of whatever sector. So big push just now is on thermal imaging, making rooms clean. So we have vaporizers and we have extractors that take all the badness out of the air and put the good, fill it with good air. So we're working at the front end, and we're taking all these things out so that we can get business and life back to normal. It's so obvious that, you know, the world is a completely different place. And until we can make it safe, even if we still have COVID, and there will be a COVID 20, 21, 22, they're telling us that now. So if we can make the world safer and just try and, you know, make the risks smaller, then we might get some normality back. So that's really where I'm working just now, in the real cutting edge innovation.
Wonderful, good stuff. So we've talked a lot today about what's wrong with the current financial infrastructure. What do you think is wrong specifically with the innovation space right now?
Okay, so there's a couple of things, main things. So one is most innovators cannot get the funding that they need. So they don't tick the boxes when it comes to the banks. A lot of, you know, investors are a bit nervous just now about where they're investing. So if it's something new, even if it is in the COVID space, they're still a bit frightened of it. And also there's the whole procurement process that government puts in place when it comes to new things being used on a wide scale, you know, in a country or in the NHS or whatever. And that's an issue. So I think there's the two sides. There's the sort of red tape, and then there's the financials of the sort of common places that we would go for money.
Okay, very good. So how do you think the world is changing in access? So that obviously what you've said is about the people that need funding for their businesses, which I think is spot on. How is the world changing in terms of access to financial opportunities for innovation? So, you know, I've got some hard-earned money, I want a decent return on it, I'm interested in the innovation space. You know, everyone knows that disruptive businesses and tech businesses do well. How are we seeing changes in having access to those opportunities, do you think?
Right, so you know, as I said, people are still a bit nervous just now, but I would say that in the UK, we're seeing far more joined up collaboration between communities, more crowdfunding. So people are taking more interest in what's going on around them locally, perhaps, than wanting to plough money into things abroad. And we're seeing a move, the globalization that we've known for so long, where everything is made in China and everything is made in India, is changing. And we're seeing it slowly coming back. In fact, I'm involved in a project whereby we are actually opening up manufacturing units in Scotland and in the Northeast to try and get some of that business back. So these products that I'm talking about are going to be made in the UK. That will bring employment, that will bring new money into the country, and it will give opportunity to investors as well. But that's not easily done, and a lot of it is by us lobbying Parliament, about us lobbying government and saying we need to work with you in partnership.
Okay, very good. And what kind of companies specifically do you think will benefit from that?
So we've got obviously anything with innovation, and that can cover any sector, but the electronic and technology type businesses, those are ones that we're really trying to get back into the UK, because with them, we have the knowledge, we have the expertise, we just don't have the facilities. So it's about using some of the facilities that are perhaps, you know, going to be closed down or whatever because of just changes since in the last 10 years. So using those and regenerating those, and through that bringing more employment into those areas, especially, you know, looking at the different communities, the Bain community, looking at, you know, rundown areas across the country. So that's one side of it. The other side is the agricultural, food and drinks industry, which, you know, is suffering greatly. But we have so many innovations in this country, robotics and hydroponics, which means that we can now grow and make most of what you can get abroad. So it's about changing the mindset of people so they start to buy local, that they don't bring it in from other countries, that they start to look at it here. Sure. And that's down to all of us as well.
Great. And look, just to be clear, obviously you're talking very passionately about stuff happening in Scotland or happening in the UK. Dacxi's platform to allow people to invest in opportunities will be global. So, you know, I'm sure that as passionate as you are about the Scottish economy, I'm sure we have people that are listening from South Africa and New Zealand and Ireland and Australia will say, look, I feel like that way about what's happening in my backyard. So the Dacxi platform will be individually licensed in 100 countries. So if you want to stay local, that's great, that's wonderful. But actually, if you do want access to a really great idea in agriculture, which is in Europe, or you want a really great, you know, base metals opportunity, which is in, you know, APAC, you can do that. So I think that's really interesting. So how do you see normal people having access and profiting from that? Because, you know, that I think Vicky said, look, the great gains are from the early adopters. How do you think that kind of innovation space will allow normal people? We don't want the investment banks to profit. We don't want the institutions taking the lion's share. We'll have some of that. Thank you very much. How do you think we can kind of get normal people to have some of that slice of the pie?
Yeah, we're seeing this more. You know, I work with a company called Loco Soco, and theirs is all about equity share and about getting communities to buy sustainable products. Very simple. Buy the sustainable products. We'll rent a piece of your shelf in your shop or in your, you know, it might be in a mosque, it might be in a church that you give over a space. And in return, we'll give you equity in our business. So there's a lot more, I think, collaboration and sharing so that people can get involved. And, you know, that kind of wealth sharing, if we can then, you know, add Dacxi onto that and add crypto onto that, then that makes it so much easier. And then it becomes a global thing, you know. So although I talk about, you know, pulling some stuff back from these sort of countries that have almost enveloped everything that we do and, you know, and everything that's produced, there is still this openness of wanting to share good as well and share these innovations. So yeah, I do see that happening. The community side is coming through, never more so than because of COVID, because people have had to then look back to their communities, and rather than going to the shops half a mile away, they just go to the local shop, which is all good.
Sure. And look, for me, you know, I'm knocking 40 and I've never seen the level of, and I've lived in the capital, I've lived in rural communities. I've never seen the level of helping each other, because we've had to, you know, I've got elderly neighbours that need a hand. I've been homeschooling my 7-year-old and trying to run Dacxi in the UK and Ireland. If you don't lean in, we're in trouble. And look, we use the word community and crowd all the time. And look, the word I couldn't quite get out earlier is the argument for crypto is the you know, the democratic right to wealth, I suppose. So we're just trying to make, you know, that wealth a bit more spread evenly. So I suppose the last question, just to be really clear, because this is a crypto session, thank you so much for talking to us about innovation generally. Get the crowd, get the community. How does crypto specifically fit into that?
Well, it's an innovation in itself, isn't it? It's the technology behind it is exciting, and it ticks all the boxes, if you like, as someone who's interested in innovation. But the platform that Dacxi is producing, the venture platform, is just going to open up the world, you know, to people. Like you say, we can invest wherever we want, but equally it means we can put, you know, little amounts in without risk. We can play a wee bit, opportunities we've never had before. That's what's extremely exciting. But also on the other side, the amount of businesses that go to the wall because they cannot get the funding to just get them to the next level. And I see Dacxi as with this platform will give opportunity to companies who have never seen the likes before. And that's what's really exciting.
That's great. Thank you so much, Lorraine. So look, so great to have you on as someone that knows a lot about innovation. And I think you're probably one of the few people I know about that knows about innovation and crypto together. So thank you so much. So if I just mute Lorraine off. So time for another poll. Sam, if you wouldn't mind launching that, that would be amazing. Thank you, Lovey. So another multiple choice one, which is what asset classes are you considering? So again, we've got a selection. It's multiple choice again. So if you're interested in more than one, again, just helps us. Would imagine that crypto assets will be quite popular. So from the list, equities/shares, international equities, property, bonds, and crypto assets. Just really interested to see what people's strategy looks like and what they're planning on doing. So thanks, guys. Can see those answers coming in, so that really helps. And if while those are just trickling in, Susan, could I ask you to make yourself available? There you are. I can see you, and you look unmuted, so you're a pro. Thank you very much. So it's probably about time we had someone from down under do some speaking. So we'll just let those answers trickle in. So yeah, a massive win for crypto assets so far. Second to property, and actually very little interest in bonds, which is interesting. We talk a lot about Dacxi. We feel the stock market's overheated and at an all-time high. In the UK, we've lost 20% on our FTSE 100 this year, near enough. So certainly a lot of people in pain there. So that's great. Thanks, Sam. That's amazing. Thank you, my love. Great, so that poll is closed. So I will do a better job of shutting it, which I kept fluffing. So that's great. So big welcome to Sue Pryer. Thank you so much for joining us. Sue has travelled all over the world as a glamorous member of Qantas Airways for over 2 decades. And about 15 years ago, she started her own business in Sydney, which I think you've since tried to sell and retire from and then got back into. But for the last few years, she's been interested in and doing well from digital assets. So I wanted to ask her about her strategies around crypto for long-term wealth. So hi Sue, nice to see you. Welcome.
Hi,
Thanks for joining us. So look, could you tell us a bit about your background? That would be a great start if that's okay.
Well, I think you've said it. I feel like I was very blessed for about 23 years. I flew around the globe for Qantas Airways, and life was wonderful. I didn't have to think about where my money was going because we had wonderful superannuation with Qantas. I had my own property. Life was fantastic, but then came the global financial crisis, and that changed a lot of things for all of us. I lost a lot of my superannuation back then. I'd already left flying by then, and that's when I thought, well, I've got to start something else. So I always had this passion for health and educating. I think my mission statement is the same as Dacxi's actually, education or motivation, inspiration, and education. So when I saw that on the website one day, I thought, wow, I've aligned myself with exactly what my mission has always been. So I opened my own business, and we ran a very successful health food business in Sydney for about 7 years. And then it just started to burn me out. I just thought, no, I can't do this any longer. And I was getting to that point in life where I'd set myself up. I'd been, my husband and I had plenty of money in the bank. And we thought that was it. We'd come up to the Gold Coast where I live now and retire. But then, of course, all us old retirees aren't earning any money anymore because we don't have any interest coming in. So it was a time to really start looking at our long-term future and wealth. And I'd been introduced to Bitcoin way back in 2009 when I was traveling to California regularly. And back then, though, it was just too hard to understand. It was hard to know about where to store it. It was like I think back then you had to buy a whole Bitcoin to get into the market, and it was just sort of hard to get my head around. So when I got introduced to the Dacxi platform about, I guess nearly a year ago now, I thought, no, this is the perfect timing. And so I have since used all the learning and education that Dacxi provide, and from someone that didn't have any knowledge in this industry or in cryptocurrency really, I feel like I've really empowered myself and I've done my due diligence and feel really comfortable now. So we've actually taken most of our superannuation out and put into crypto. We've got a very healthy portfolio now, and we just feel like it's the perfect time for us because certainly there's no interest coming from having money sitting around in the bank. I just feel that this is a time where there's been, even accountants, whoever wants to give you the information about the market, everything picking up and coming back to the way it was. I don't believe that anymore. I just feel that it's there's no roadmap for where we're going. We're in such uncharted waters that it's time to take responsibility. And I feel as women, especially, I can help other women I'm working with. And, you know, it's great to being able to share a story that what you've done and how it's helped us. And I've done that with quite a few people. So it's an exciting time. So yeah, it's yeah.
Very good.
I've probably answered all your questions.
I know we sort of, that's okay. So obviously you've talked about kind of the situation you found yourself in, and what motivated you. So I know in Australia you've got the supers, we have, you know, general pension planning in the UK, and often it hasn't provided what women were hoping it was. What was kind of the one thing that made you think, I'm going to get involved in this and I'm going to use it for pension planning? Like, what was it about crypto that made you think, yeah, this is for me, I can see it doing well?
Well, I guess because I lost a lot of money, a lot of my superannuation after leaving Qantas. I took my superannuation fund out of that Qantas platform and put it somewhere else, and lost a lot of money at that time. And I just thought, no, it just doesn't feel right to keep it somewhere like this now. If it hadn't been for the coronavirus and the lockdown and the global pandemic, whatever they want to, plandemic is what I call it, but that's another story. I probably wouldn't have even looked at this, but I just felt in my real instinct and I listened to my gut, and just now feel that it just was the right time to really take responsibility and do something to educate myself and get our money in a place that was safe. And I don't feel sitting in a bank or sitting in a super fund was a safe place to keep it. And listening to all the podcasts and things that I listened to from all the wonderful leaders in the industry and Robert Kiyosaki and people like that, it just all the dots for me started to line up, and it just said, no, this is the right place to be. And yeah, I just feel like it's exciting what the future is going to hold for this now. We've got, you know, money in property, of course, where we live, and we have an investment property, but I've taken most of my super out and put into crypto, and we've so got the DAC bundle, and we've invested heavily in the DAC pack because I'm a passionate believer in the crowd financing area, and I really am looking forward to putting my money in projects and, you know, funding startup companies that really matter to me. I feel like my investments have been in areas that I'm not really passionate about. It's just where I was told that we got the best return. So what this is opening up for future, and a few people I've spoken to here, we have some great ideas about things that, you know, really will mean something and leave a lasting legacy that's sort of, you know, it's definitely going to make me happier than having just profits in the, you know, coming from a company that I don't believe in.
Yeah, and look, I think you tell a very interesting story, which certainly in the UK we can relate to, and I'm sure globally, where, you know, we were sold the idea of these great corporate pension funds, and very often they're in the UK, they're in deficit, or they're just not performing how it was intended. And it's a real story of control there. No, actually, thank you, I'll choose what I want to. And look, I appreciate you've chosen Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and the DAC, which is great. So I think the final question I've got really is, and we're talking about the future today, like the title of today's session is The Future and Post-COVID. Where do you think crypto as an industry is going?
Well, as I just said before, I just don't believe we can use the model that we have right now. I mean, the banks, you know, that whole banking system is changing. Superannuation, there's just so many rule changes all the time, and I don't think we're going to bounce back, and I don't think the figures that they're showing us right now are accurate, because same here in Australia is happening in other countries where, you know, money's being poured into the economy. I have lots of friends in Qantas still that have just been stood down. They've just been stood down, and they've been told it might be 2 years before they have a job. So at the moment, they're not classed as out of work because they're still getting what Australia we're calling here as a job keeper.
Sure, yeah, like our fellow, yeah. Job
keeper program, and then there's the job seeker. But most of my Qantas buddies are on this job keeper program and getting funded by the government till the end of September. But when that finishes, they're, you know, they don't know where they're at from there. So I just think investing in something like this is a smart option, and I think it's exciting because, especially with the Dacxi platform and this whole crowd financing idea, and being able to, like I said, put money into something that's really meaningful. So it's still, like everyone, like I am, I'm still learning every day. And I think, like most people I've met through Dacxi, or said, you've got to do your due diligence. You've got to spend that time to educate yourself. And my goodness, there's so much information that they give you to do that. There's so much wonderful, you know, we've got people like Andrew Scolari that's on nearly every day. He makes himself available to answer questions. So, you know, it's just, for me, it's exciting to be part of a community that I feel, you know, we're all like-minded, we're all wanting the same things. And it isn't about creating, for me, great wealth, because I have everything I need personally, but it's what I can do with that in the future to support others. And I just don't want my money being like, my money sitting somewhere where they're telling me what they can and can't do with it. I want to have control of that. It was either put it under the bed or put it into crypto.
Very good. And your story about Qantas, we can reflect on in the UK. So our national carrier, I'm sure you'll be aware, is British Airways.
Yeah.
They are in loads of trouble at the moment. They're trying to say to all of the majority of their staff, oh, you can keep your job, but we're going to give you a 60% pay cut. It's an absolute, it really is a scandal for us. Do you have any sense, and I'm not asking you for numbers because that's your privacy, do you have any sense of what your superannuation would have done if you kept it in the traditional stuff and what it has done from crypto? Do you have any sort of comparison between the two?
Well, I'm not sure about the super, because our last meeting, I was told that was back in March, that it hadn't dropped. But then I'm thinking March to now, it's probably a different number. But I know that the money we've taken out of the bank that was just sitting there, we've seen a 15, maybe between 15 and 18% increase that we would never have seen where it was sitting. So I'm really thrilled with that.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, so that's why I'm really confident now about taking a lot of it out of the share market and places that I don't feel comfortable with, because I'm not someone that wants to sit in front of a computer and understand all that either. Even with the crypto, there's a lot of things that I don't understand. I don't really want to understand. It's just knowing that I'm in the right place and having that really, really positive feeling that I'm being supported by the community and the people that I trust and respect that are involved now. And I can only see it, you know, getting stronger and stronger with the future the way it is, because, as I said, I don't believe we know where we're going right now. No one really knows what tomorrow is going to bring. And I think it's an uncertain time for everyone, and we can't go back to say, oh, like things will pick up like they did after the global financial crisis, because this is a whole new world now.
Very good. Thank you so much. Look, it's always inspirational to talk to you. So congratulations on the gains that you've made, and thank you so much for giving your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Catherine.
So I'll just mute Sue off. So look, a poll, please, if we may, Sam. So just very interesting to gauge kind of the mood, I think, of the people that join us. So it's a yes, no, so a bit simpler, this one. So are you optimistic about your personal financial future? And of course, the answers are anonymous. We have no way of matching who has said what answers. So please feel free to comment and know that your privacy is protected. So of course, just the two answers, yes or no. So whilst those are trickling in, could I ask SAIRA? I keep seeing you pop in and out, so if I can ask SAIRA to just get herself ready, that would be amazing. I don't know why I can't see you, lovey. Oh, there you are, yes, with your lovely Dacxi background, thank you. So I'll just unmute SAIRA. So wow, that's amazing. Just close that poll. Are you optimistic about your financial future? Overwhelmingly yes, which is great, which means we are doing hopefully a good service to the women that are part of Women in Crypto. Thanks guys, much appreciated. So welcome to SAIRA. SAIRA, I'm going to ask to talk about multiple income streams and how to start a side hustle. So SAIRA actually spoke for us last time, and we had so many people asking for more content from SAIRA. I've actually invited her back, and she's the only person I know in the UK who is looking as glamorous after lockdown as before. We only had hairdressers from Saturday, and we've got no beauticians yet. So it's been hard going, I can assure you. So SAIRA's got a number of business interests. I'll let her tell you about those. But she's really walked that walk on diversification and multiple income streams. So hi, SAIRA, nice to see you.
Hi, how you doing?
Yeah,
Hi.
good, thank you. So could you start by telling us about your current business interests and what's taking up your time
Sure.
right now?
So since lockdown, I have become a UW partner. So my job is to basically look at people's bills and analyse them, and then work out how much money that I can save them, and consolidate their expenses into one sort of manageable monthly bill. I'm also in the process of recruiting, training and supporting team members as well. So yeah, I work from home at the moment. I've just stopped salon work. I've got a beauty background, which I've been doing for the past 14 years, hair, makeup, beauty and so on. Since lockdown, I had to take matters into my own hands, obviously, because I stopped getting an income from that. So yeah.
Okay, very good. And you've got a crypto interest as well, from what you say. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I got involved last year, and to get started, what I did was I bought some crypto. I put in a few £100 in the pack and in the bundle, and yeah, I just started educating myself about it and speaking to other people. I've helped quite a lot of people get involved in crypto and helped them open a portfolio. And also make some money off that as well.
Very good. Okay, so look, it's really hard when you're busy. I imagine being in a salon is tough going, long hours, high stress. It's really tough when you're right in the middle of a job to think, oh, I need some diversification. I need to, have different fingers in different pies. And I certainly, my crypto journey started a couple of years ago when I was working like 70 hours a week, and I thought, I've just got to get involved in this. And I did what you did. I went and did some homework, and my first Bitcoin purchase was £100 because I just didn't have a clue what I was doing. Unfortunately, it was before I had met Dacxi, obviously. So what would you say to anyone who's looking to embrace multiple income streams?
Well, if you look at what's happening around us now, I think it would be a bit silly not to have multiple income streams now, because we can't really rely on, a safe job anymore. Is there such a thing as a safe job anymore? One industry can fall, whereas you should always have a backup, and you shouldn't place all your eggs in one basket. For me, when I got involved in Dacxi, I really needed something that was, very flexible as well. I had been working myself across about 3 salons at the time. So I really needed something that was going to take up very little of my time, and something that I was able to be confident and speak about.
Sure.
When I started learning about it, I found it quite difficult at first, but I was quickly shown the way through people from Dacxi, so I was really grateful for that, and it helped me on my way to where I am just now.
Very good. Okay. And look, presumably, so for those of you that aren't UK based, they shut the beauty salons, I think, on the 24th of March, something like that, and they're still not open. So that's what, 16, 17 weeks where you would have had zero income if you hadn't had other things going on. So, it's been, we haven't been able to open. It's been a criminal offence. You would get fined. So the fact you had other stuff going on obviously is great. So look, you mentioned that you were after something which was flexible around your other commitments. I'm sure for every woman on this call, we're all busy ladies. There's like 10 things going on in your life. What did you, and obviously you've got a couple of opportunities and that's great. What did you look for in the opportunities that, because presumably, you looked at a couple of different things. What were you looking for in the opportunities that you got involved in?
The first thing was time, and second to that was a sort of, to maximise my income. I didn't want to then take on a job that was, minimum wage or pay, £20 an hour. Jobs are, are fine. But for me, I wanted more than that. So I wanted to see substantial gains from things that I didn't want to put a lot of time in. I'm a great believer in working smarter and not harder these days.
Sure, of course, yeah. And obviously you came across crypto, which is great. I know a family member introduced it to you. What was it about crypto that inspired you to get involved as an industry? What made you think, yeah, that looks great, that's for me?
Yeah, so many years ago, I remember quite a lot of stories about Bitcoin, and I always wanted to get involved. But when I did look into it, I just found, you know, it was going down the rabbit hole. Where do I start? What do I do? There was industry jargon and terms that were really off-putting to me. Being in a, you know, a beauty sort of makeup background, I didn't have a lot of tech knowledge or anything like that, so it put me off. But Dacxi was very easy. It was a very sort of simple process, and then it was explained very well. So that's why I got involved with Dacxi last year, because the time was right for me.
Yeah, okay, wonderful. And you talked about getting educated, and I know a lot of the speakers have said, educate yourself, get the information. How did you get educated, and how did you get started? Because for me, that first step forwards of spending that 100 quid on Bitcoin, when there's just so much rubbish on the internet, there's so many scams, that takes real confidence. I think that first step is crazy brave. So how did you educate yourself and get started?
Well, I was very lucky, and you know, as you mentioned, it was my dad that actually got me involved with crypto. So I was very lucky that I could ask him. So I had someone from Dacxi that I could actually trust and speak to. So I would say to anyone that's even thinking about it, if you speak to someone that's involved in Dacxi, they'll be very helpful. Someone that you trust, you know, someone that can sort of explain things in layman's terms to you. It becomes, then you become more confident because you can ask as many questions as you like. And aside from that, I kind of get my education from Dacxi platforms, from articles online. There's loads of Facebook groups and Reddit forums as well, which I found really helpful too.
Okay, very good. And look, I think it's about finding the format you like. You mentioned Reddit, you mentioned that you like live webinars where you broadcast loads and you can ask Q&A. We have some people that hate webinars, love ebooks, love Facebook. I think there's a lot of different channels you can choose from. So what right now, I know you've been in crypto for a little while and you've done well out of it. What are your personal goals for your crypto career, if you can call it that? So what are your personal financial goals around crypto?
So personal goals, well, my intention was to sit on it for the next 2 to 3 years. I have had to dip into it this year, which I didn't intend to do, but it's great that I can do that. I am going to keep it until I see sort of real significant gains, and then I'm going to cash out.
Very good. Okay. Excellent. And look, I know that Lorraine made a comment about using crypto as a savings account. She just puts lots of people put bits and pieces in sort of as and when they can. And of course, having that liquidity on Bitcoin, like on Ethereum, means you can think, crikey, you know what, I need some of that out. And actually Bitcoin had a crazy day yesterday. It saw about 5%. So I sold some yesterday just because actually I've got something to do with some of the cash that I need to do. So look, last question. I know that you personally are assisting people in getting into crypto. What inspires you in helping people on that journey for financial freedom?
I think I've came from a place of not having much wealth. I have known struggles of a lot of people who haven't been wealthy, people that are quite close to me. And I just think that, you know, the way the system is, it's not a fair system, so those at the bottom tend to suffer. So I have got a real passion for helping just real people get ahead, you know, and have a better sort of quality of life. That's what I really want.
Very good, and we thank you for that. Well, look, thank you, SAIRA. I really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you so much. And look, SAIRA's going to stick around, so if you've got any questions for any of our speakers, if you pop them in the chat, we'll try and get through those. So I'll just mute SAIRA off. Not that she's not house trained. Thank you. And look, final poll for today. It's our last one. So very keen, talked all about the future today. The theme of today's session has been what's coming, what we can do about it. So we wanted to ask you all, are you optimistic about the global economic situation in the near term? Just simply a yes or no question. So I would have a little gut reaction what way this is going to go, unless you've been living underground for the last 4 months. So a clear winner for no at the moment, which is, I don't think, a massive surprise. So that's great. Thank you very much, everybody. Just let those trickle in. Thanks, guys. You can probably close that one now, Sam, actually. So yeah, a very strong sense of that we are in for a rocky ride, which personally I would concur with. That's great. Thank you, Sam, my glamorous assistant. So look, I just want to round up today. We want to use today to make a really exciting announcement that there'll be an invitation only Facebook group launched for this community. So there'll be a Facebook group where we can post and you can comment and no one outside the group can see. Sometimes you don't want to necessarily raise questions or talk about sort of financial stuff. So that community is going to be massively interactive. There'll be daily posts. We'll put out any research around crypto that we think is interesting. So Elisa, would you mind popping that the address for the Facebook private group in the chat? If you don't manage to pick that up from the chat function, don't worry. We're going to send out a follow-up email after today. So don't worry if you don't catch it. You'll get the invite. So loads of inspirational stories today. A huge thank you to all our speakers that have been so generous with their time and expertise, and also to the Dacxi team that moved heaven and earth to put these events together. So particularly Elisa and Sam and Vicky, it's super late for them in New Zealand, and a shout out to Lena, who holds the fort in the UK for me and does a lot of sweeping up. So whether you're early on in your journey, or you're well established in financial freedom and in crypto, I think we can all agree the world is changing and probably at a pace not seen in my lifetime. So I hope you enjoyed today's content. We will record this, we will send it around. So if you can watch at leisure or pass along to friends and family. Sharing is caring. We're desperate to build a really interactive community of women who crypto. So anyone that you feel would benefit, please do pass on. There are loads of future events coming out that Dacxi is proud to facilitate, and we see ourselves as an education-led company that happens to be in crypto, and we seek to be the leading company that provides that in an easy and accessible way. So if you haven't seen our website, we have an events page on the Dacxi website which talks a lot about our beginners crypto sessions or more detailed ones. We run sessions for accountants, IFAs, helping people build their businesses in crypto. So huge content. And I think, as people have said, we broadcast daily, whether it's myself in the UK or Squid in Australia. So look, thank you very much for attending. I will keep this call open for any questions. If you want to stay on the line and ask questions from myself or any of the speakers, you're very welcome. But yeah, thanks for joining us, and we really hope to see you online soon. And I can see Elisa's just put on the Facebook group, so please do click on that now and press join, and hopefully see you on Facebook or on an event soon. Thanks guys, see you soon.